Welcome to Astrology and Crime. I'm Astrologer Val Evans. I have a special episode tonight. I'll be joined by my true crime friends, Eve from True Crime with Eve on YouTube, and forensic astrologer Grace Wilson with Forensic Astro. Both have joined me on this show previously, so I wanted to bring them back and asked what they thought about the Rainey Street Ripper. Since 2022, there have been, I believe, 15 bodies recovered from Lady Bird Lake in Austin, Texas. Men between the ages of 20 and 40. Lady Bird Lake is part of the Colorado River that flows through the city and named after President Lyndon Johnson's wife, who spent years raising money to beautify the lake. Due to the number of drownings there since the 1960s, swimming and motorized watercraft are prohibited. With everything being basically stopped, you can only paddleboard on this lake. It hasn't stopped what many believe is foul play. Rainey Street has a long-standing reputation for being an area where revelers are in danger of having their drinks spiked, so they can be robbed or even killed. So too much is going on, and this is almost normal lately. It's being normalized where things are just categorized as an accident, and the police really don't open very in-depth investigations. So I am going to open up my presentation, and I'm going to say hello to Grace in a second. I know, very similar to what happened to poor Riley Strain, in my opinion, says Angel D. All right, there's the lake. Beautiful, beautiful lake, man-made lake. But unfortunately, it is, it just seems like there's something evil lurking around there. And I think I was watching a YouTube show about it, and wouldn't you know, the lake is like 18 feet deep. So 18 being the evil number, 18, the devil number. And there's where it is, that spot of the Colorado River running through Austin. Beautiful town. I love Austin. And this is the chart that I drew for Lady Bird Lake. It was named, even though it's been around since the 60s, it was named in 2007 after Lady Bird for all that she did for the community. So July 26, 2007. Hey, Grace, nice to see you.
Hi, everyone.
What is the website where people can find you?
My website is forensicastro.com.
Now, there have been, in this case, some, you always follow the family members because they have the inside scoop. They know certain things. They've got gut feelings. And many of them say that this was not robbery or anything that was financial. So at least in a lot of these deaths, that's what the general consensus is from what I'm seeing. And so you were just saying the other day, Grace, or maybe you were saying today, what is the motive? Like, it's not rape, it's not sex. And so I think it could potentially be just either for sport or maybe for revenge. So we're going to take a look a little bit at some of these charts. I pulled the Lady Bird Lake chart. Isn't it interesting? The chart that I drew was 18 degrees in Scorpio. And when you have Pluto and the moon together, as you know, it's always like a very famous thing that you're looking at. So here it's a famous lake, it's a famous woman. And you can see that trine up to Venus, which would be famous woman, and an older lady because Saturn is right next to Venus. And yet you have that Neptune right at the bottom of the chart. And it's in opposition to Saturn, which is in Leo. So Saturn in Leo, to me, I can't help but think that there's some kind of authority, upper authority figure that's involved in this, or somebody who carries a gun, a security guy. Now, of course, we won't be able to see real specifics with just the chart of the lake. But I also noticed that in the 12th house of hidden enemies, there is that black moon Lilith in Scorpio and squaring the sun in Leo. To me, I feel like that might be bad law enforcement somewhere. Somewhere, maybe, I mean, this was drawn in 2007, right? So it's not going to be all the time, but in certain years. And seeking serenity, you say waiting for the moon eclipse. I know we picked a good night for it, I think. Now, Grace, you are a Pisces. How are you feeling today? It's an eclipse, moon in Pisces. Are you feeling tired? Are you feeling, what's your general thought?
I've been having a lot of kismet. This eclipse is right on my ascendant.
Oh, good.
So one of my cases just broke open, and it was one of those things where you just wake up in the middle of the night and you think, I'm going to check on something, and
Then that's what happened. And maybe
then
that
you
was
find out all this new information. So
yeah.
I've been feeling pretty good, not too tired. A little hard to sleep, but that comes with the full moon.
Yeah, and the full moon also gives us kind of intuitive, psychic feelings. So definitely, we're waking up in the middle of the night going, we need to check on that case. So, all right. So this is the Lady Bird Lake. And some would say, looking at this, I mean, if you were to look at this from a birth chart standpoint, you might say, we might have some problems. You got 22. You got some Chiron in Aquarius, and some T. You got a T square with Mars. So there's going to be. I mean, Mars could be somebody who attacks in a T square. It could also be maybe someone who carries a gun. So this is, and it's also with the square to Neptune that can show, I I don't know, maybe not having boundaries when it comes to rules or thinking they can do whatever they want to do. So that's something that I might see, but definitely the sun is in Leo here. And isn't it interesting that the name is Johnson, and Johnson is a Leo name because sun is at the end of that. SON is Leo. So, and what comes along with Leos? Bullies, big bullies. And I think we saw some Leo too with the Rex Heuermann serial killer case.
Mhm.
And Leo's there. And what do Leos represent sometimes? The beast. So they're big, big guys. You see football players tend to be like Leos, like OJ Simpson. They're athletic sometimes. So that's some of the things that I'm seeing right away with this case, but we really can't get into the details until we really see a couple of other charts here. And I just saw Eve is coming in, and I'm going to jump over to her in just one second. Um, this is for the month of the 2023 murders. Um, we have here, um, we've got Mars in the 8th house, and it's interesting. Mars is in Gemini. We know that from Brian Koberger, and there's an opposition with Pluto and the moon. So this can mean someone who becomes famous and doesn't wants to be able to do things secretly. And yet, look at how there is a sextile with Saturn and Leo, which could be someone maybe in law enforcement. They're like, no, it's an accident. It's this, it's that. It couldn't be this person. And they're almost maybe even inadvertently helping this person. And so, oops. So yeah, and let's see, what else do I have here? Saturn was just starting to go into Pisces, and that's death in the water. So we're going to be seeing that, I think. And the other thing too is that Pluto was right on the cusp of Capricorn um, and Aquarius. And so here's what I wonder. I wonder what the timing is for these murders. Are we going to see more? Are we going to see them dry up? And my opinion is that we're going to see more because here is Mars right. I mean, can you believe it? Mars is right in Algol at 22 in the birth chart of Lady Bird Lake. This is an evil person. And we've got Uranus heading straight for it. I say, and you can disagree with me, I say we're going to see more murders. What do you think?
I think you might be right. I think we're gonna see more before this is all over.
Mhm. Well, I'm going to welcome Eve in, and let me just hope I can do this right. Hey, Eve, nice to see you.
Hi, everybody. Am I too loud?
No,
Too
you're
soft?
perfect. You're
Okay,
perfect.
great.
So nice to see you. You had to take a little time off, and we're so glad that you're back. So,
Thank you. Me too. I
yeah,
am ready to go. I've
good.
been antsy to get into this because I live 4.5 hours away,
I know.
and these murders are way too similar, right?
Mhm.
And something isn't passing the sniff test. So, thank you for covering this. I'm really glad you're doing it.
Yes, and we're very interested to hear your thoughts. And, it's one of these things where we read about it, we try to stay up to date, but now we're thinking, okay, let's really put our ideas together because you and I both live close to Austin. And who knows, maybe there's going to be a collab ahead when, maybe I'll go over there and see what's happening. I don't know about at night,
Maybe we
but
should snoop during the day. Yes, please.
during the day. And I don't know if I'm gonna visit any bars, but, or go
Right.
swimming, but it'll be yeah, I would like to go out there and draw a horary and see what we see,
Mhm.
and collaborate. So I don't know where Grace went, but, she'll be back,
I
I
know I
think.
was gonna say hi.
She's typical
Well, Grace, if you're
Pisces, you know?
watching, hi. Mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
Okay, here she comes. Okay. Hey, Grace, she's back.
Sorry.
Hi, Grace. Nice to
All
see
right.
you.
Well, so yeah, Buckeye Clay fan says go with a small group at least. Yes.
Well, here in Texas, we pack heat, some of us. I don't know about you, but I definitely do. I know how to use it properly and all of that stuff. So, there's
Good.
that.
Yeah.
So
And I suggest that because you see so many crimes, and if the woman or the victim just had something to defend themselves, it would have changed the course of events. So, I'm fully supportive of that. Lauren, hey Lauren, nice to see you. I think it's eerie that you just talk about the baby killers who too were supposed to help and didn't. Seen a huge theme of mirroring this week with your clients, Lauren. Thank you for that. And oh, you're also wondering if it's a fireman. That's actually a good thought because we're seeing so much when it comes to fire signs. And so, Eve, you know your way around astrology. You're also an intuitive. And were you able to? I mean, it's been a while probably since you looked into some of these cases, but in general, what direction are you going in?
well, it's definitely here's the thing. It's kind of scary how many similar situations are going on across the United States. We have Wisconsin, I believe, Michigan, specifically Chicago,
Mhm.
Alaska, and I think that there is some internet uh, collaboration, if you will, with others who are mimicking each other. It kind of reminds me of Smiley Face Killer, where
Yes.
they believe, that there are for sure at least 2 to 3 working together or piggybacking off of their ideas of murdering innocent men specifically.
Yeah.
Men in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. And I don't believe in coincidences too much, just from a logical standpoint. But my
Mhm.
intuition is telling me and screaming at me, there are multiple people here.
Yeah.
And even if it wasn't, to look at it from that broader spectrum wouldn't hurt anyway, because they're getting away with this,
I know.
whoever it is or whoever they are. So
It's scary. Angel, you say dark web. That's a
yes.
possibility where it's just for sport,
Hmm. Yeah.
what can we get away with? So,
Hmm.
so what I wanted to do is, Leo, we see so much. Law enforcement officer is a Leo, and so is Aries. So I'm seeing that a lot. Not saying that there's maybe somebody in the police force necessarily, but a person in authority, or maybe pretends that there's some kind of maybe there's an authority figure somewhere in there. And we're going to go over some of the charts with the victim, or for some of the victims. And this, just real quick for Ladybird Lake, this is the solar return chart. And all I really wanted to call attention to was the 8th house in Leo again. I mean, that is a stellium in Leo. And whenever you have a square anywhere with Leo, you're talking about a bully. And so that seems to be in the mix somehow. Somebody who wants to, if we're going to profile this person, in my opinion, it's somebody who wants to overpower. But does it involve, drugs all the time? Or is it just a few times? Or is it all the time and the police only, maybe they don't even report it? This is Mikhail Popkov, and he was born March 7th, 1964. It's funny, there's some kind of study that says that, and this is way off topic, but if you're Russian, you sure probably have Pisces in your chart, because,
That's so funny you say that, because I always associate a Russian as a Pisces in my mind,
yes,
because I've seen so many Piscean Russian,
yes, yes, they look like
especially
Pisces.
men.
Yeah, and you'll notice, like, if you wanna hire somebody, like a video person, and, they're on one of these, websites, they're always Russian, so video, Pisces. Anyway, this guy, he was a serial killer. He acted, and at first he was a police officer, but then he used his disguise, which would be Pisces. Mars in Pisces is a police officer in disguise. So whether it's fake or not, I thought that was really interesting. And I also thought that with Chiron there means to hurt. So a police officer that hurt. So that was in his birth chart. The victim that was found and survived. Now we talk a lot about Leo with these charts, and wouldn't you know it, they find him, and he woke up in the hospital more than 2 weeks later with metal rods holding his back together. So there was that back element. I'd like to start with Chris Hayes Clark. Father's partner thinks that he was killed and then placed in the lake. This is the chart for the time that they found him. And Aries, again, let's face it, there's going to be a lot of police around there, because they're all going in, they're all there. And the body is Saturn in Pisces. This is body in the water. But who is that? That is somebody else. That's somebody nearby, I think, when they are finding this, the body of Hayes Clark. And Mars is at 18 degrees, which is the evil degree. So, and again, kind of the same with the Russian chart. That was his birth chart, showing that maybe there is someone around that is some kind of authority figure, or knows an authority figure that's nearby.
That looks like a perp.
So here's Jonathan Honey, and this is his chart. And look at all of this Aries here. This is the last seen time. You've got 18 degrees in there, which is, that's his symbol. Then we've got Mercury, which is the perp, right next to him. And then it's trining Leo. So this is giving, I think, some kind of description of some sort. But it's weird because there's that cluster of Aries there. So I think that it could either tell us that there's somebody who's very angry, something that really that happened to him. Honey was in town for a bachelor party from the DC area, according to council member Zoe Kadri, when he reportedly went missing on March 31st. The Austin Police Department said he was drinking when he went to find food, after which he was reported missing. Police then began to search the river. So a day later, police said they found the 33-year-old dead in the lake near Rainey Street. And he died, they say he died from drowning. The medical examiner classified the death as accidental. And this wouldn't be obviously the first time. Jason John had died due to drowning in February. John's death was classified as accidental. Both Honey and John's cases remain under investigation. That's what they always say.
It starts out the same way every time. Let's look at the lake. Well, what officer or officers? I want to know who are the lead investigators, right? And who is responding? Who's listening? There's a pattern within. If it's law enforcement, which I have an inkling, it's someone or whoever it is related to law enforcement in some way or knows the ins and outs of it. Maybe on the scanner. I think that they are on the internet constantly. Serial killers usually are at least in something habitually, so they don't get caught. So the internet that makes sense. So I wonder who's responding, who knows who. If it's not law enforcement, is it someone they know that keeps dibs on them? And I think that would be very important to look into.
We see so much Taurus sometimes in some of these charts, and I thought it was weird, not trying to point any fingers, but the assistant chief of staff for the Austin Police Department, his name is Jeff Greenwald. So it definitely seems now he's come out and spoken about these murders.
Not very friendly, I will say.
Yeah,
with,
I mean,
FOIA requests.
So you know him pretty well. I mean, know of him, of course. Yes. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, generally, I think that's what people want to find out is what's been going on. Now, I do know that there is there's a petition, and that was going ahead of the council there. And I think they were able to put in some lighting and, but I don't think you can deter somebody like this, a perpetrator like this. Now, Lauren, you said, I felt that he lived nearby, and now I'm wondering if he was an ambulance driver. Yes, maybe. And Janae, nice to see you. The wound that never heals. Yes, that's Chiron there.
Chiron. I like to look at Chiron a lot lately. I've been kind of looking into my old study materials, and I forget sometimes the wound healer. Where is that at? Because sometimes maybe we need to look into the future of how this is going to be healed if it is for victims' family members.
Yes.
Which we kind of forget about sometimes when we're sleuthing or looking. And so that's where I'm at with these cases. And it seems to be a very long time. There's a long time of investigating and trip ups and hiccups and all of these things, because I think it's law enforcement issues. I do.
Exactly.
And somewhere in there.
It's so easy for, with the news cycle for everybody to forget about this, but it's doing harm doing that because there are future victims here. And, we're trying to avoid that. And the police, they are not making that easier. And it's so frustrating. It's almost like they've all come from the same training, just to say everything's accidental. I mean, what is going on here? This is crazy. So anyway, we see lots and lots of Aries here. We see Jupiter with Chiron, which means Jupiter is lots. Chiron is wounds. So and I put that picture of a fish there, of him holding a fish, because we had this conversation with regarding Caleb, and how he went missing, and how we often see, men who hold fish. That's Pisces. Pisces is to vanish, to disappear. Sometimes you'll see them on, if you're dating, you're seeing them with holding those fish, and then they ghost you. So it's kind of like, not me, of course, but it's kind of like a symbol there. It's a symbol of sometimes vanishing, and so that was the case with him. Um, Also, let's see here. We have got, this stellium, really says it all. And I gotta say, this is, if it's not a law enforcement officer, it is a security guy, somebody who holds a
Pretty
gun.
hard. Someone on the outside of the main law enforcement
Mhm.
centralized location, like not a police officer, maybe someone, a clerk. I
Yeah,
do get that feeling of off center of law enforcement. Yeah.
absolutely.
Administration.
Yeah, and you can see too, in this. Now, sometimes it's hard to tell what this is, but like with part of fortune, and it trines the perp. Oh no, that's North Node. Mm, yeah, you're still getting a trine to part of fortune, so you're seeing that the perp was successful, which would be that part of fortune there. And weird how it's within 1 degree of Regulus. So, what have we said in the past? We've said that Mercury sometimes is what someone is called. And so, like for instance, with Aries in the past, we've seen Ariel, something Aries related, with Leo, which this could be because it is aspecting Mercury. Mercury is to call oneself. And it could be, because it's so close to Regulus, it could be something like Leo or Gold or Goldman or something like that. So we can try to get some type of clues when it comes to these perps. And, which one would you look at? Well, you'd have to look at the descendant for that to see, to see the name. And interesting how it is Mercury. So sometimes that means two people. So do you think this could be more than one? Either one of you. It's possible,
Yes,
right? You think so?
I, I,
absolutely.
I don't. Do you think they'd be working together though, Eve?
I think that they would, I think it's a game. I think this is a sick game, like the internet, and their real lives are so incredibly boring. And this is the only way that these two, three group, whatever it may be, can feel alive. And this is, reading, looking at it logically. This is everything coming together. So that's just how I see it
Mhm.
from looking, vicariously through all of this data. I do feel like it's a game.
That is, that's giving me chills because
Yeah.
Leo is a game, and Black Moon Lilith is sick, sadistic. It's a sadistic game, and Moon might be a famous sadistic game. Who knows? Maybe it'll become famous. I don't know. But there's some type of fame that's around this. And it it's I just trying to look a little bit closer there. So much Leo, so much bullying. Um, and I wonder if it is all connected. I really do. So this is one of the survivors. There were two survivors, and who was this guy? Let me see. This was Jeff. Was it Jeff Jones? Yeah, Jeff Jones, 38. He was at a bachelor party trip, or on a bachelor party trip to Austin, with about a dozen friends, from his home in Boston on June 23rd last year. He woke up in a hospital more than 2 weeks later with metal rods, and that's what I was telling you about. Doctors found the date rape drug Rohypnol in his system. So here is the crime chart. Buckeye Clay fan, thank you for wearing your tinfoil hat. Hey, I mean, we've got to look at all the angles, right? And so, so here's the crime chart for this. And, it kind of reminds me of the crime chart for Theo Hayes in Australia, in Byron Bay. He had the ascendant in Pisces at that moment. He was trying to walk back to his hotel. And what's really interesting about this one is if you were going to see, will the victim survive? You can see how he was very lucky because that part of fortune there, which we've talked about before, very, very strong with Pluto, and it sextiles the chart ruler. So the victim, I mean, my God, was he wounded in this, but he survived. So I think that's really interesting. One thing that I really want to try to focus on too in these charts is, okay, so we're trying to find the profile of the perpetrator. We want to see what happened, what was the motive, what's this, what's that. But really what's important is, how do we catch this guy? How do we do it? What can the chart lead us to clues where we can find him, or something where it's showing us this is the way to this guy. So here is the victim, and this is in a big T square here, right here, with Mercury, and Mercury happens to be the perpetrator. There it is, right there. I mean, there's two of them. There's another one right there.
Mm-hmm.
So
is that 90? Is that square?
Yeah.
Each other?
Let me see. Yeah, it's a big grand square. So it almost tells me, I mean, do you think that they are having an argument? That just seems like they are sparring here. And his friends lost track of him around 1:30. So this is at 1 a.m. This is right before, they were like, where did he go? So it's kind of right in the middle of it, I think. And it certainly looks as if, I mean, you have Pisces there. So that shows alcohol. And maybe there was some kind of argument that had to do with alcohol, but he was drugged too. So that's in the picture there. But how did he get this alcohol in his system is the question. And the thing is that you have the sixth house here, and the sixth house is often workers. So this could be Leo's restaurant. So could it be restaurant workers? And that's one possibility there. So lots of Leo. Leo means, and if anybody wants to check out my latest Elizabeth Taylor Part 1, it talks all about Leo, and it is amazing, 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 because there are so many clues that you can see, like the name, Queen, King, Gold.
Kingston.
Yeah, Kingston.
Yep.
Exactly. You just have lots of royal clues here. And so
it makes me think of the Chavez road name in Austin, the main strip. It's something Chavez, and I believe that does relate to royalty.
Really? Okay.
Historically, I could be wrong, but it made me think of this the other day, and I didn't get to deep dive in it. So I do think that there is some royalty related naming of something very important in this case that will help.
Cesar Chavez. Yes.
Cesar Chavez Street. That's right.
Yes. Okay. God, I'm getting chills again. That is so crazy. And then, of course, with Lady Bird Johnson, I mean, it's going to be Johnson. It's going to be the president. So there's going to be that Johnson type of theme around. Butler is also a Leo name from what I've seen. And a lot of them were coming from the East I'm sorry, the west side. They were all around, and I should probably pull up a map that shows them. But I mean, all of the victims, they were up and down this river, or this looks like a river. Would you call it a river? It's a lake, because the
I,
lake's down here.
I mean, it's a river that dumps into a
Yeah,
small
this,
lake. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I've always been so confused on why we do that down here. Is it a lake? Is it a tank? Is it a pond? We don't know. You know.
Exactly. So yeah, so there it is. Just so much Johnson there, and the big bully. I want to pull up. Let's see. It is Ladybird Lake, and there was like a map of the Ripper there, and it was a little bit crazy. Here we go. Okay. All right, there it is. I hope you can see that. And so, you can see all up and down there. So from
Talk about a pattern.
I know, and 2019, it started. So this isn't even all of them here, but just different profiles of different people. A lot of them are big guys, which is a little strange.
I think they have big personalities.
Mm-hmm.
They feel. I don't know them, of course, but just to have pictures, they look brazen. They look like they would not mind fighting back. So, hence, being roofied. They might have strong opinions online or wherever they're being looked into. They have opinions that I think are not well liked. And that would make sense if you're in a dark web group or looking into people that you do not like to talk to get at them. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Sparring, right? Like, let's find someone that has these specific opinions because they're the problem. And let's make a game out of it, right? See what we can get away with.
We often don't think of, because we want to think that all of the victims are innocent. They didn't do anything. Sometimes we think the ones that are drugged probably might have had, maybe they didn't have a choice. But then some others, like you said, they might have big personalities. They might have, started some kind of conversation with the wrong person. So it's hard to put together how it all the pieces are put together.
Well, they're at a bar. Introverts don't go to bars. Extroverts do. And if an introvert's at a bar, you drug them, literally dragged them to the bar. So I think that this is these poor victims had to have had some bite to them. Because yes, like you said, they're big in stature. They're not small and dainty, not most of them. And I think that they just exude that powerful personality that might make you feel a certain way online, right?
Absolutely.
It would be interesting to see how they post on social media. What were they into besides the obvious? What were their conflictions? What were their comments under the TikTok video? Reddit, all these subthreads, right?
I also wonder if jealousy might be a factor, because I know with the incel community, they kind of break people up into Chads and Stacys. And a lot of times the men will go after the women and they'll do that. But maybe this is a guy who sees this good-looking guy, and he's got the attention of all the women, he's got the attention of all the guys, and he's having this great time at this bar, and this poor schlub is working, or maybe working in the back washing dishes, and he just when his frustrations start building up and he goes to work that night and he just spots some guy and he says, "Tonight I'm going to get you. You're having too much fun. I'm not having any fun. I'm going to take you tonight." I mean, it's a theory.
Mhm.
I don't claim to be psychic, but I kind
Political
of wonder.
discourse is huge now. I mean, obviously. And I
Mhm,
think it doesn't take much these days for a certain
mhm,
incel or group of them to retaliate in whatever way they
mhm.
see. I think you're onto something there.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
and he could tell his buddies, "Hey, guess what I did last night?" Because
Yeah.
they do talk
Mhm.
and goad each other on. We know this. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, it could be. Never know.
Um, what was this guy's name again? I'm just trying to look it up. It was some of them are Jonathan and, I can't remember, but anyway, the crime chart that we're looking at, remember that Leo is blondes,
Is
okay?
this Cliff Axe or something?
It's not Cliff. I think it's, I'm sorry, it's Jeff Jones.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, all right, so it's 1 in the morning, he's at a bar. Now, one thing, we're looking at this as the victim, but the other rule in forensic astrology is to look at the moon because that's the co-ruler of the victim, and it's right there on Regulus. So, like the king here, he's like the big guy, he's the big kahuna, but we've got other people around here. And it looks like there could be maybe a blonde woman with Venus being a woman in Leo. There could be a sexy blonde woman that's involved here because of Black Moon Lilith. And there's some type of, why is it a spark? Why is it just suddenly it all, basically crumbles because of this square to Uranus. Uranus is like something blows up, and it does look like a fight. It looks like somebody roars, somebody gets bullied, and I think it's very possible that maybe he was getting attention from someone, but there certainly seems like there was a female there somewhere in the mix. And why the sixth house? I don't know. What do you think? It could be workers. Trying to think what that would be like if he was.
Healthcare worker, even if it's in the cafeteria of a
Yeah.
hospital or something. It's
Mhm.
why maybe they're health conscious, but they fail at
It's
it.
or
The
it's a
sixth house.
Overweight.
what's that?
The sixth house is also known as the house of misfortune.
Mm,
So if something was going on at that particular time, he was in a fight, with one of the workers at the club, that would
right.
that would make sense because it's on the cusp of the fifth and the sixth.
It
Fifth house is restaurants,
and
bars.
also and this is one of the things I saw early on with, profiling the murderer of the Idaho 4 was we saw something very similar to this, and I was like, "It looks like the guy got fired or something and, has trouble with work." So, not saying that that is the victim, but it's very possible that something happened where there was a lot of animosity. Maybe somebody had just gotten fired and they were extra upset and fiery that night. So sometimes that can show, I think, a theme there. Uh, when it comes to, and this is supporting your theory of the third house might be what the perpetrator's thinking, and it's in Scorpio, so this could be something revenge. The last degrees of Scorpio are very, very tough. They're very intense and obsessive, so there could be getting some kind of revenge. And also look at this, like with Pluto there up there and that's squaring Chiron. This is somebody who really,
Mhm.
really got hurt, which he did.
Mhm,
Um, there's a stellium there in the second house, which is money and all of that stuff. But really, what happened was he was walking out of the bar and somehow got pushed off this bridge. And they thought he was going to go in the water, and he actually went on land.
mhm.
So that that actually saved his life. So and of course, what happened? Uranus is broke, square Leo, back. He broke his back. Kinda nutty. So,
Look at the 1-degree sun sign too in the fourth house. It just blows my mind.
which part?
I'm a little blind. Sorry that you have Cancer. I think it's 1 degree in the fourth house.
Yes.
Mhm.
And look at that compared to um, the fifth and sixth house, just anything on either side of the chart there, on the
Mhm,
first house. I mean, it is eerie how emotionally triggered this person had to have been. Something
mhm,
was so powerfully scarring to him or her or whoever that
mhm,
that the emotional response had to be, let's destroy. I mean, this is violent,
mm.
emotionally violent response. So it's
And
kind of chilling.
yeah, and definitely this with, this stellium here, group of people, and with a trine to Chiron, that can show tattoos and scars. So these are tough people who, not to say that they were the ones that pushed him, there could have been somebody from that group, um, but definitely I would say with Aries, maybe something that has to do with military type of tattoos or something like that.
Or
Um,
even politically. I just get this political vibe.
mhm.
And I just don't like it. And there
Yes.
is nothing quicker than speaking of politics, right? To get you
Mhm.
fired up.
Yeah, let's see. Politics would be Libra, and that would be in the seventh house. So, definitely following a certain political party, perhaps. Um, but the main part of this, from what we've read at least, is that there was drugs involved. And you just wonder, like, obviously he is drugged here. He's drugged. And, with Mercury usually is like tea or coffee. And so, what is this? What's he doing? How are they putting that in his drink there, and why? So it's like we've got bullies, we've got somebody putting something in his drink, we've got somebody's jealous. Um, and I've listed this type of stuff in the past for murderers, and all somehow it's all incorporated all together. And, it's hard to see in the beginning. Um, so yeah, so there's the victim in the perp with the T square. It just looks like, a lot of times too, the third house is right outside an establishment, even though the fifth house is really the restaurant. But this is like in the yard or something. This is outside. It's in the neighborhood. And it could be somebody who's local. So
I
somebody.
think so. I mean, it would
Oh,
make a lot of sense. Mhm.
oh,
Mhm.
Very
definitely.
local.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, so that's pretty much all I have. I just wanted to give a couple of charts there. And Heather, you said Moon, Neptune, quincunx. Never saw it coming. Good. And Heather, Angie, easy to say these people drowned and get away with it. What's happened to that man's back? And he fell on, somebody thought that he was going to drown off of that bridge. Bridges are really something that is I mean, I think we see bridge a lot with these murders. And so bridge would be like the ninth house or would be Sagittarius.
I was going to
And
say Sagittarius typically
mhm,
points you towards that direction.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so Sag, or Jupiter Sag would be running MC. That would be overseeing the MC, but then the Lord of MC, but then Jupiter is in Taurus. So, when it comes to somebody pushing, it's usually Mars, and you've got Mercury is the hand and Mars is the push. So I remember I did some kind of study. I think it's on my website on sucker punches. This was a long time ago, but it's like you see that sudden,
Aries moon here.
yeah,
I kind of
yeah,
know that feeling. Yeah.
right. You
Push.
got to do it. They probably deserved it, Eve. So,
They needed it. They earned it.
Heather Fitzgerald, more often than not, highest point on the chart is Sag. Interesting. And Toy wants to know about asteroids. They're asking, Grace, I think you're doing just a preliminary study, and then we're going to get back to some asteroid stuff, right?
Right. This I haven't really had a chance to really dig into the asteroids. So many charts, but what I'm looking for are asteroids that show motive. I want to look to see, is this like a serial killer? So we're going to look at asteroids like Prey, Prey, or Ramirez, the Night Stalker. Um, I really want to kind of dig into the legal aspect, looking for cops. So Val and I have some ideas about that. So stay tuned. We're going to get you all caught up on the asteroids in the next few days.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to hear on that because I'm an asteroid dum. It's something I never got to really look into and connect the dots, but except for Val's channel and Grace.
Well, thank you. And well, there's so many. I mean, it's so difficult.
Only 40,000.
That's it. Oh,
That's it.
Eve, do you have anything coming up that you're doing on your channel that we should know about?
I'm actually kind of piggybacking off of Lady Burke Killer.
Oh, good. Okay.
Just kind of getting my folks caught up on the basics, not really deep diving. But I'm definitely going to redirect, here to get that nitty gritty stuff because
absolutely.
I think a group effort is mandatory in this one.
If
Not
they
one
like
person can
astrology.
handle it. Yes.
All right. So I want to let's get from the cards. I want to get some kind of a description of the perp. What does the perp look like? It'd be funny if it was a female. Whoa.
That'd be wild.
Does anyone think it's a female? I think maybe there's a female in the mix
The
somehow.
girlfriend, the wife.
Yes. Yeah. Toy, you say, I feel a high-ranking LE or security who is privy to everything in the coming goings of the city life too. A popular alpha. Yes, maybe. And so justice. So maybe someone is trying to get justice for something. Maybe that's part of the profile. And can we just get one clarifier card? And whoa. Death, the death card. So great. Does he wear a red hood? I don't know. But yeah. So I think that shows, though, that we've got more crimes coming and something that we got to get to the bottom of.
You know what that card says to me when I see the death card in situations like this?
Mm-hmm.
It speaks to me that the perpetrator feels like that these actions are somehow making him bigger, making him more. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes.
Kind of like Dennis Rader did. He thought that when he killed these people that they would become his slaves in the afterlife, that he was building something. I think that this perp may have, that's what that card tells me, is that he's got some kind of delusion that every time he does this, he's making himself better, or I'm getting bigger for
stronger.
Yeah.
Bigger, stronger, faster. Yep.
Yeah.
That Leo. Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about that Leo and that square to Uranus. And that I think is another clue. With Leo, that's fire. Often we see people get burned. We see something really bright. We can see clues like, obviously, last name with Sun, Son, Sen. Words like sunny can come up, and with a square to Uranus, that could be something that has to do with a recent explosion, or something that had to do with a lot of heat. So it might be something to look back into the last couple of years to see maybe there was some kind of fire that happened unexpectedly, which would be Uranus, and maybe somehow those people are involved. It's a stretch, but I'm going to check it out. So but and well, I'm so glad that you could come and join me tonight. Thank you so much for focusing on this. I feel like just talking it through sometimes helps a little bit, but we're going to continue this and look at the asteroids, and then of course tune in to True Crime with Eve for an upcoming episode. But thanks so much, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.